Hello, friends. It's been a minute. You're welcome back to Garden Cocktail. Today, I want to show you some of the ways you can utilize your space to set up your garden. It's March. The rains are beginning to come in, and it's a good time to get started. So, if you have not been gardening before, please stick around with me because I'm going to share with you how you can set up your garden and what you can use to set up your garden. And it's very simple tips you really need to know to have a successful garden. I'm doing already. So before you get started, you need to decide what crops you want to put in your garden. What do you want to plant? What do you want to see growing in your garden? And of course, this is largely going to be determined by what you eat in your house. You don't want to plant things just for the fun of it. It's not just for sightseeing. You want to plant crops that are useful for you, like fruits, vegetables, herbs, just what it is that makes up most of your diet is what you need to plant. A simple tip I would say here is that if you're a first time gardener, please start little because it can be overwhelming sometimes. Start small. You can start with your vegetables, you can start with your herbs, those simple ones. And as you get very conversant with all that you need to do with the garden, you can begin to add some other things by bit. Okay. Secondly, you have to determine how much space you have. If it's an open field, if it is um a flower bed garden that you have, whatever space you have, if it's just your balcony and your containers that you're going to use, that too could determine what kind of crops you're going to plant, and then you have to decide which container is suitable for which crop depending on the growth habits of the crop you're growing. You need to find out all of that. So here I'm going to show you some examples of gardens that are already established, people that are already gardening, and the kind of spaces they are using. And please, this is mostly for those going for container garden. If you're going to be planting in a container, you need to have a plan to feed your soil. Okay, when you're planting in an open field like this one, you have a lot of activity going on in the soil, and then the roots of the plant can extend to tap nutrients from around. But when you're planting in a restricted container, sooner or later your containers will run out of nutrients. The soil in your container will run out of nutrients, and then your plants might get stranded. So you really need to have a plan. Okay, and these are some of the things that helps to decide what you should have in your garden. I always encourage that you should also keep some kind of livestock or poultry around, because droppings from these animals can be very useful. But if you don't want to keep livestock or poultry, you can also have a compost bin. Everybody can have a compost bin because we all have kitchen waste. And your compost bin is you fill it up with your kitchen waste that eventually becomes manure for your garden. Here is one way to set up your garden using flower beds around the house. Your flower bed was probably designed to beautify your compound, but yes, you can beautify your compound with your vegetables, your herbs, and even with fruits. This flower bed, for instance, will conveniently support about 3 stands of dwarf pawpaw plants to fruiting. So when you have your flower beds around your house, you may consider putting all sorts of vegetables as you like it. You might even put in your garden eggplants, your okra, spices, your ginger, your garlic, and so on. They would grow well here in this flower bed. Here in this garden, I can cite the Malabar spinach. Malabar spinach is not common in our market these days, but this gardener has it in his garden, and so you can have it as well. Now, if you're not using the flower beds around the house, you may want to use open spaces. If you have access to an open space around you, please make do with it and put up some seeds without so much drama. This gardener planted pepper, This garden was planted sometimes in May 2022. We're in March 2023 and the pepper crop is still fruiting. This gardener has been harvesting from this garden, from this pepper plant for some months now, and it is still fruiting. And that's the beauty of pepper. It can go on fruiting for up to 2 years. So you may consider having that in your garden as well. Again, you have your bags. You can grow your garden in bags like this. As long as the bag can hold soil, then it can grow your crop. You may want to use your poly bags, your bako bags, nylon bags, whatever bag you're using. Just make sure to create holes around the bag and at the base to allow for free flow of water so that it doesn't get waterlogged. If you're not using this, if you're using a perforated bags already, your bags with openings, then you may not need to create holes. Tires are another good way to set up a garden. Here I have old tires that I no longer use, and you can see that we were preparing our tires by applying cured poultry manure or dry poultry manure, as you may call it, to improve the soil fertility. We applied it, worked it in, and then left the soil for a while before putting in our seeds, whatever it is that um it's still in waiting, and we're going to put in seeds very soon. Okay, at this point I should tell you that it is very important that when you're planting in restricted containers like this, you should have backup plans for your soil. Your soil would need fertilization. You have to create a plan. In my garden, I have a small poultry that supplies poultry manure. I also have my compost bin that supplies me compost to improve the fertility of my soil. It is very important. Else, if you grow your crops in restricted containers without fertilization or something, the crop gets stranded at some point and will not do very well. You may also want to consider using containers like this, jerry cans, buckets, bowls, just containers that are not in that you have not been able that you're not putting into other uses. You cut them up into desired sizes according to what you want to plant in them, and then you create holes like this. As you can see, we had to make holes on every side of the container and at the base. Don't mind our crude method. Okay, this is what we're using, but you might have other sophisticated methods of creating these holes. Whatever it is, just make sure you have holes on the sides and at the base of your container to allow easy flow of water. We mentioned earlier that we don't want our soil waterlogged. If you don't create these openings when you water your crops, it will not find a way to flow out. The soil will be waterlogged, and that could create another problem for your garden. You could have root rot, you could have some other kind of infections in the roots of your plant. So we don't want to create such scenario. We should always create openings in our container. And like I said, you might even use bottles, plastic bottles, depending on what you want to plant. Just cut them to size based on the roots of the crops you're planting. Here I had a vertical cut jerry cans. I also had the horizontal cuts. Horizontal. Here is an example of a container garden. This gardener planted pepper, scent leaf in this container and in the garden and in the balcony, and you can see this is a balcony garden. Can you sight that pepper, the ripe one and the green one? So if you want it green, you harvest it. If you want it red, you harvest it. Okay, you really do not have any excuse. If you're watching this video, you don't have any excuse to not start up your garden. Although we can see that this container is waterlogged, the gardener probably didn't open up his container. Okay guys, it's very important that you get your soil from a good source. The health of the soil is important. This is where I got my soil from. This land was left fallow. It's a part of my garden that was left fallow last year, and this is where I got soil to fill up my bags. If you do not have such, whatever soil you're getting, plan to improve its fertility. You can have a plan for that. This is my poultry. This is my fertility plan for my soil, aside my compost bucket. In subsequent videos, I will show you how I cure my poultry litter before I apply them to my soil and also how I keep my compost. Thank you guys for watching today's video. Please like my videos and subscribe to my channel, and stay green till I come to you with another video. Bye bye.